Invincible. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. In this video we are going to be reviewing the recently released Amazon Prime Video series Invincible, which is an adult animated superhero series based on the comic book series by Robert Kirkman, and it's just so brilliant. It totally subverts your expectations. You are thinking it's going to go down the Saturday morning traditional superhero cartoon route in terms of being like Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers, etc. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, it turns into an animated version of The Boys, which is super bloody, super gruesome, and super twisted as well. Like I said, it's an absolutely excellent series that has already got a second season and a third season commissioned and a live-action movie adaptation being created as well. So I just cannot wait to break down the first season for you in this TV series review. So from a storyline point of view, even though there were only 8 episodes in the first season of Invincible, they covered so many brilliant storylines. So many of the comic book series were adapted in the first season, and they just did such a good job in terms of bringing them all to life. So let's go through the main ones now. So the first one, of course, is the Nolan and Mark Grayson relationship. I really like this relationship. It was obviously the center focus of this series, and I just really liked it in terms of Nolan at first training up Mark Grayson as the Invincible character from his Omni-Man persona. Mark Grayson really looks up to his father, he really idolizes him to some extent, and so the betrayal that was happening in the final 2 episodes just meant so much more to this character because he just looked up to him so much and was truly devastated by what was happening. Obviously, Mark Grayson taking on his powers is what triggered all of the events that then domino affected the rest of this series. I also really liked the fact that they were just destroying the entire Guardians of the Globe within the first episode. That was absolutely shocking. And then we have the teen team trying to live up to their legacy, but always being in their shadow. I feel like they could have explored that a little bit more. I feel like the teen team at points were absolutely loving the limelight, especially the Rex character. That aspect as well, I feel like they could have really explored so much more with the teen team, and hopefully they'll do that in subsequent seasons. We also had the Flaxans' invasion of Earth, other alien characters coming onto Earth and trying to take over the Earth, which is a little bit of a foreshadowing in terms of what the Vulturemites want to do later on in this season. I thought this aspect was very much Saturday morning cartoon 101 and totally subverts your expectations from that point of view as well, when Omni-Man totally destroys that planet. Next up we have the Mark Grayson, Amber, Eve and the Rex characters love square, which I thought was really interesting. At first you were thinking that Mark will get together with the Eve character as they have a lot in common, but then he ultimately gets together with the Amber character, and I really like the fact that Amber actually realised that Mark was a superhero, and then she was really disappointed in him in terms of him not telling her the truth, which you can understand as well from Mark's point of view because he wants to keep his secret identity a secret. And then we have the Rex aspect in there as well. Him and Eve obviously have a very long-standing relationship. I really like that scene where Eve was able to see that actually he does really love her, but obviously his actions are a bit unforgivable. Then we have one of my favourite storylines, which is the Titan and Mark Grayson storyline. In the beginning, I thought that this was a little bit boring, if I'm being honest, in terms of the Titan character really guilt-tripping the Mark Grayson character, and then you can really see the perspective of, you know, Mark wants to be a superhero and wants to do all the big heroic things, but actually there are a lot of other characters that are really suffering that superheroes don't really help. So I thought that aspect was super interesting. But then the betrayal that the Titan character did in terms of using Mark, he didn't really care that Mark / Invincible was nearly going to die, all just to try to take over the power from Machine Head, I thought was super twisted, really calculating, and really showed how if you're a nice person, you can still be taken advantage of, even if it seems as if you're doing the right thing for the right people, which I thought was absolutely mind-blowing. Next up we have the Twisted Sinclair character turning students into cyborgs, and this really was Mark Grayson's Uncle Ben moment in terms of he could have prevented the Rick character being turned into a cyborg, but instead chose to do something a little bit selfish. But the fact that they were turning students into cyborgs, which I thought was a really risky and powerful and shocking storyline, which is then going to be re-explored in the future season, which I think is really interesting. Next up we have the Eve character, and I think it's really understandable and relatable in terms of this character has superpowers, and she actually does want to do something a bit more humanitarian with it instead of trying to just save the day with a group of superheroes that she doesn't really feel connected with anymore. We then have the scenes in Mars where Mark Grayson inadvertently had the aliens being taken over by these other creatures, which I'm sure will also be explored in future seasons as well. We also had Robot, the real life robot behind that character, him trying to have his own human body, which I thought was super interesting, and using the Mulder twins in a bit of an evil / manipulative way as well. And then of course we have that shocking moment right at the end where Omni-Man's true plans are revealed in terms of him wanting to take over the planet, and what the Viltrumites are actually trying to do in terms of, you think that they're really benevolent creatures in the beginning of the season, to actually find out that they're truly shockingly evil. And that emotional departure from the Omni-Man character as well. Of course, he will be back in future seasons, but from a storyline point of view, the first season of Invincible was truly awesome. So from a cast and characters point of view, like I said before, there are loads of characters in Invincible, but they do such a good job in terms of fleshing them all out individually and not making it feel overcrowded, and also not making it feel underdeveloped for the lead characters. So they just balance it super well. So let's go through them one by one. So of course, first up we have Mark Grayson / Invincible, voiced by the brilliant Yeun, and he's just such a cool young adult who just acquires new superhero powers, and as such is super relatable in terms of that is exactly what people will do if they gain those magical superpowers, in terms of learning how to fly everywhere, in terms of saving the day, in terms of it going to your head a little bit. And also this character was just such an awesome lead character, super likable, and also just trying to balance schoolwork, having a relationship, and trying to be a superhero as well. And I just thought this character's arc was so brilliant, not just from the father-son point of view in terms of really idolizing and looking up to his father, to having his heart ripped out quite literally by the end of this season, but also just trying to save the day for everyone, just trying to be a true heroic character, trying to do exactly what his mother wants, just trying to please everybody. But ultimately that can only be done to an extent, and actually Mark Grayson was suffering himself by trying to please everybody else. Next up we have the brilliant J.K. Simmons voicing Nolan / Omni-Man, and he just did such a good job, such an iconic voice actor, just bringing this character to life so well. Such an abusive character towards the end, towards Invincible and towards Debbie and towards everybody else. Super unpredictable as well in terms of what this character is going to do. So shocking as well at the end of the first episode, when he was absolutely slaughtering the entire Guardians of the Globe, and really did show what evil agendas certain characters have in terms of destroying and taking over an entire planet and country. And I really do feel like this was channeling the evil Superman aspect of this character. Next up we have the brilliant Sandra Oh playing the Debbie character, always being a very supportive mother and wife, and I think that this character was going down a true destructive spiral towards the end of this season, and you can really see that, I'm sure, in the future seasons as well. And I just think that line that the Nolan character said in terms of seeing Debbie as a pet was just absolutely shocking, and you could just really feel this character's heart breaking when she was watching that. Next up we have Gillian voicing the Atom Eve character, whose powers I thought was probably one of the best in terms of all the different characters in this series. And I just thought her arc actually was really relatable and believable as well, in terms of she's trying to go down the traditional superhero route in terms of what is expected of her. Her parents obviously don't want her to be a superhero at all, which I thought was also really understandable as well. But then when she feels really betrayed by her team and her boyfriend, then she goes down a very different route and goes down the humanitarian route in terms of wanting to use her powers just to help people, wanting to go down her own path. And she also was maybe going to explore a relationship with Mark, but he was obviously with the Amber character, so then she didn't want to go down that route. So I thought this character was actually pretty interesting, and I hope they explore this character a lot more in future seasons. Next up we have the Amber character voiced by Zazie Beetz, and she was a really cool character in terms of playing the human version of Mark Grayson's world that he's always neglecting, always trying to do his own thing. You can obviously understand why Mark / Invincible is doing that, but you can then really see the impact that it has on the Amber character and whether or not she's going to stand for it anymore. We then have the Cecil character. I thought this character was really interesting, especially that scene where he just sent Damien Darkblood down to hell. You really saw that this character is really holding no prisoners, quite literally, and is a really no-nonsense character and just wants to ultimately find a way to stop Omni-Man, as he is one of the people that worked out that this character is probably going to lead to the destruction of the planet. He obviously does things in a little bit of an unorthodox way, but you can see that actually his heart is in the right place. We then have Art, the character that is voiced by the legendary Mark Hamill. Whenever Mark Hamill's voice is heard on screen, you just know that it's going to be a brilliant portrayal. and Mark Hamill definitely did not disappoint with this character's portrayal. I feel like the producers could have done a little bit more with this character, and I hope that they do that in future subsequent seasons. But that being said, from a supportive character point of view, he did a really good job. We then have the Guardians of the Globe, the original Guardians of the Globe, and then the future Guardians of the Globe. The robot character, I guess, was the most developed out of all of them. And I really like the fact that you weren't sure whether or not you can trust this character. Is he going to betray all of the different characters within his team? But then you obviously found out his real ambition, which is to have his own human body being created, which I thought was a really nice moment as well, even if he did manipulate and twist the Mordor twins in order to get there. Next up we have Rex, the really egotistical member of the teen team, and then the Guardians of the Globe. The fact that he cheated on the Eve character with Duplicate, I thought was really true to what actually happens with young adults, and I thought was really powerful in terms of he just wants to get back with that character, but she obviously wants to go down a different path, and how he still is after the limelight, especially when the robot character took his likeness to impress the Monster Girl character. I thought those scenes are pretty funny as well. And then we have the Titan character, who, like I said before, was brilliantly voiced by Mahershala Ali, but the fact that he betrayed and double-crossed the Mark Grayson character purely for selfish personal gain purposes in terms of removing the machine head character so that he can rule the criminal underworld was something that I just thought was truly twisted from this character's point of view. We obviously have the Mordor twins as well, bringing a bit of comic relief to the show. I love the fact that they opened the series and you just know that they're going to play a bigger part in future installments as well. And then finally we have Damien Darkblood. I was really gutted that this character left relatively early in the series, and I hope that he comes back, as he was a really cool character in this show as well. But from a cast and character's point of view overall, Invincible was pretty awesome. So from a visuals point of view, Invincible the TV series looks absolutely incredible. Very smooth drawing and animation style, very slick and easy to follow. In the beginning I did think, is it a little bit too basic, but then I thought actually it's really polished, and it looks really awesome as well. And it's surprisingly really dark, really gritty, really bloody and gruesome as well. And pretty much every single episode has this aspect in it as well, especially the final episode and the first episode, towards the end of the first episode in particular as well. So from a visuals point of view overall, it looks pretty epic in Invincible. So from a comparison point of view, I feel like Invincible did a really good job in terms of really standing out from the crowd, especially in a very overcrowded superhero market. It was definitely able to make its own mark and do its own thing. And I just love how from one aspect it's very similar to Spider-Man, Wolverine, the Avengers cartoons, but then suddenly out of nowhere it turns very dark, subverts your expectations, and becomes very similar to The Boys. And I really like the fact that you can also see the characters that they are basing their designs on from a Marvel/DC point of view, in terms of having characters very similar to Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash, Superman. All of those characters are definitely inspired by the Invincibles versions of them. From a show point of view, I think you can also compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy, The Runaways, and Titans as well. But like I said, it definitely has a refreshing new take on the superhero genre. So I absolutely love the first season of Invincible, and I literally cannot wait to see what's going to happen in Season 2, Season 3, Season 4 and future installments in this world. But here are my predictions of what I think is going to happen next. So I feel like they're going to break storylines into two main areas, the one being the really big epic battle type scenarios, and then the more smaller, more character driven storylines, which I think is going to work really well. So in terms of the big battle storylines, I feel like the Viltrumites are going to come onto Earth after Omni-Man has failed to do his mission in terms of taking over the planet. I feel like loads of other Viltrumites are going to come onto Earth, and there's going to be a big epic battle. I feel like the creatures that are taking over Mars might begin joining in on that battle as well. I feel like the Flaxons, they were teased to be returning too, so I feel like they're going to be joining this big battle world as well. We saw those cheeky smiles coming from the Mordor characters, so I feel like they're going to break out of prison again and cause a lot more chaos. I think we'll also see what's going to happen with the Titan character in terms of him ruling the criminal underworld, which I think is really interesting. I feel like the Sinclair character is going to be coming back as well. By the way, he was brilliantly voiced by Ezra Miller, so I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next with this character, with his now robot army that he's got. So he's been turning other students or other people into these robot cyborgs, so I think that's going to be a truly heartbreaking storyline as well. I feel like Battle Beast, the unstoppable character that almost killed the Mark Grayson character and actually did kill a lot of other heroes, I feel like he's going to come back. I feel like he's going to be an absolute boss. maybe he is the person that's going to save the Earth from the Viltrumites, who knows. I feel like the old Guardians of the Globe might be returning. I feel like they set up those characters so well and then suddenly wiped them out. Maybe they're going to do some time traveling and bringing those characters back, which I think will be really, really interesting. And then speaking of time traveling, I feel like there will be lots of events going back and forth from the past and the present. I feel like new characters, maybe new family members, maybe Omni-Man has actually got another child, so Mark Grayson is going to have another sibling, which I think is really interesting as well. And then from a relationship point of view, I feel like they're really going to explore Mark and Eve a lot more in future installments as well. But I cannot wait to see what is going to happen next, because I feel like season 2, season 3 and onwards for Invincible are going to be absolutely awesome. So overall, I'm sure you can tell I thoroughly enjoyed Invincible. I thought it was such a brilliant season, such awesome, captivating storylines, incredible characters, loads of twists and turns, just really fun stuff happening in this series. Super unexpected, very gory, very much like The Boys, very unexpected, totally subverting your expectations. And overall, I just thought it was a refreshing new show, had a brilliant style, and was just really capturing the audience's attention from start to finish. And so for all of those reasons, I have to give it a magical 8 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.